Okay. We're going to resume the meeting. We are dealing with the two separate items, 17 and 55. Mr. Stephen Greenfield.
Mr. Supervisor, before the public speaks, I have some questions about this particular item. Mr. Supervisor, can you tell me what in this item is for the taxpayer? What in this item is for the workers who plow the snow, sweep the streets, clean the bathrooms, and pick up the garbage? I'd like to know that. What's in it for the taxpayers and what's in it for our town laborers?
I'm assuming you're talking about the collective bargaining agreement amendment. It's an amendment with the Civil Service Employee Association.
No layoff.
Well, that's part of a negotiation with the union, and what it is it is designed to what it does is provides further protections for our employees going forward. So that's my answer.
Protection for which employees?
That's my answer, Councilman.
Well, you know, Mr. Supervisor,
Councilman.
Supervisor, what did we get in return for giving this no layoff clause to the union? What did we get in return? What did the taxpayers get?
Mr. Ra.
I'm sorry.
It was part of a negotiation.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. But
A negotiation is a give and take.
We already passed the
Correct.
contract. Why would it be amended to throw in a no layoff provision without anything to be gained for the taxpayers of the town? And there's not even the guise that it's for the employees.
All right, Councilman, you could certainly, when you vote, make any kind of statement that you want. We're now going to hear from the public.
I would like to finish my statement.
And
This provision is handcuffing the town board going forward, all the members of the town board, not just the new supervisor. It's going to jeopardize the fiscal integrity of this town. It's against every principle of good government. There's no reason for this other than a blatant power grab that benefits no one but the ruling class. It doesn't benefit the wealthy class. It doesn't benefit the poor class. It doesn't benefit the middle class. It benefits no one but the ruling class. I think it's a cynical ploy. I think it's totally antithetical to the way government should be run. And it's certainly against the principles of the Republican Party and the Conservative Party, of which I have been, and many of the members here have been, given the privilege of running under those parties' banner. This is against all those principles. I want to know who brought this up, who initiated this, and what the taxpayers are getting in return. Nobody's answered that question yet, and I think that question needs to be answered.
Oh, thank you for your statement. Mr. Stephen Greenfield. Mr. Greenfield. Is Mr. Greenfield here?
Quiet in the audience. I can't hear what's going on. Stop.
Mr. Greenfield is not here. Please, good order in the audience, please.
My name is
oh, there you are, sir. I didn't see you. I'm sorry about that.
Stephen Greenfield, 2336 Harrison in Baldwin. I'm a vice president of Baldwin Civic Association, and I came before this council earlier in the year to thank you, Supervisor Santina, for your efforts to get the Baldwin Grand Avenue project back on track, and I thank you again for that and for your many years of service. But today I come to talk about good government issues. When I read in the newspaper that over 190 employees were being transferred or promoted prior to the end of the year, this includes many clearly identified political appointees whose continued tenure should be determined by the incoming supervisor. The civil service laws of this state were created to limit nepotism and political appointments so that employment in government is based on objective standards, not political affiliation. This movement of individuals to civil service positions flips civil service law on its head, using the law to protect political appointees, just the opposite of its intent. Certainly, there may be employees entitled to a raise at this time. I don't propose to interfere with salary administration, but the transfers should be rescinded. Second, I have read that the board is considering an action that would amend the collective bargaining agreement that would prevent the future administration from imposing layoffs or eliminating jobs for any reason other than misconduct. As someone who took great pride in reducing the town's workforce, Mr. Santino, I cannot imagine how you would react to such a proposal if you were to continue in office. What happens if we have a recession? What happens when this new Republican tax cut is implemented, dramatically limiting New York State and localities' ability to raise necessary revenue? This proposal is ill-advised and potentially damaging to all residents of the town. I hope that the council will put the needs of the residents and taxpayers before parochial affiliations and pass the baton to the new administration without limiting its flexibility to act. Can't believe I'm saying this, but Donald Trump was elected with the slogan, "Drain the swamp." This resolution represents swamp behavior. Voters, and I speak to all councilmen and women here, voters will remember if you put party and patronage ahead of taxpayer interests. Thank you.
Mr. Richard Shuren. Richard Shuren? No, Mr. Shuren, okay. Audrey Ciuffo. Audrey Ciuffo? Name and address for the record, please.
My name is Audrey Ciuffo, 40 Nancy Boulevard, Merrick, New York. I'm proud to say that I'm a resident of Merrick, town of Hempstead. I love this place. I love this county. I moved from Brooklyn 16 and a half years ago. I moved for a better life. I moved for an ethical life with my county and town employees behaving in an ethical manner. I'm speaking about this because this is unethical in every way possible. I'm sure you've been reading the newspapers. I'm sure you're listening to people's comments. Are you like Pharaoh, who's so hard-hearted you can't see it before you? What will it take for you to stop this? Because this is the wrong thing to do. The tide has turned. You could see that by the results of the election. Don't let the tide wash you away so that you can't come back. People have long memories. It is really, really important that you allow the voters, and me, I'm part of those voters, to have their choice respected. Mr. Santino, you were voted out after over 100 years of Republican control in this county. You were voted out. Must you try to enforce what you want for the new administration? We voted. Our vote should count. And I would also like to make a special plea to Councilwoman Gooseby. You were elected by Democratic voters, as well as I'm sure some Republican. We expected you and do expect you to follow the will of the people. Laura Gillen is the head of our party in the town of Hempstead, and we expect you to work with her, agreeing to this egregious proposition is not working with Laura. We know you're better than this. We know it. I've been to events with you, Miss Gooseby. I've seen you. If you don't want to work with the Democrats, then I don't know why you don't change your party.
Thank you very much. Helene Manis. Helene Manis. Go ahead. Hi, your name and address for the record, please.
Helene Manis, 1899 Elsie Avenue, Merrick, New York. Let me start by saying I am a union member and a big union supporter. But this 11th hour amendment to the collective bargaining agreement with the Civil Service Employees Association is a backroom deal that hurts taxpayers. If the economy implodes, the town board will not be able to reevaluate staffing, which will force an increase in taxes when residents cannot afford it. No responsible elected official would ever agree to this. Also, in July, the town board voted to approve the 5-year contract of this union, in which the town's kept its ability to have layoffs. Isn't it funny that now that the Supervisor Santino lost his position, now all of a sudden you want to take that away? It's sabotage. He's trying to bankrupt the town so that Laura Gillen fails. The taxpayers will not stand for it. We made our choice known. And you can't deal with it. I'd like to also thank, I'm sorry. I'd also like to thank my Councilwoman Sweeney and Councilman Blakeman for speaking up and standing on the side of the people of the town of Hempstead. And to Councilwoman Gooseby, I hope you will vote no on this issue, since you should be supporting Laura Gillen, not Supervisor Santino. You are a Democrat. You're the only Democrat on this council. You should be representing us. And if you are not going to vote like a Democrat, then you need to become a Republican so that the people of your district can see you for who you are. And they'll vote in a real Democrat. Thank you. And I hope everybody searches their conscience and votes no for this, because this is going to hurt you, because you'll still be on the board.
Ms. Mattis, first of all, thank you for your comments. And following up on your financial questions, Mr. Conroy, would you mind answering some questions about, I know you were away for a couple of days, but I did send to your office a memo that asked for the financial impact of this amendment to the collective bargaining agreement. Could you share that analysis with us?
Yes, Councilwoman, I apologize. Yes, I was out of town. I was in Denver. In pursuit of another job I have calls me to be out of town once a year. So I had staff in my department reach out to you and give you an answer regarding this. This matter, the cost effect or the cost regarding these transfers is going to take a few days, and that was communicated to your office.
Right.
It needs to be done on a case-by-case basis. Looking at these transfers, what I see now, subject to check, subject to a comprehensive review, is no real monetary adjustment from a transfer from Department A to a Department B.
Right, actually I appreciate that, but as far as the amendment to the CSCA, so I think it's two distinct issues. One is the transfers or other employment actions we're taking with regard to about 190 people. But the other thing which I'm most concerned about right now is the 11th hour amendment to the CSCA for the no layoff provision. What financial impact will that have on the town?
Well, that remains to be seen prospectively. I can't quantify that at this point.
Right, but can we have some sort of, I mean, I would imagine there would have to be some sort of financial analysis
Well, you would
that
have
would.
to, yes, you would have to look at it, and through attrition, that may be able to neutralize the effects. So again, it's a comprehensive issue.
Have you ever heard of any place that has made it where you can't lay off a person because of budgetary issues? Have you ever heard of that? It is the most absurd thing I have ever heard of. I worked in the New York City Board of Ed. I had tenure, and if there was no money, people were laid off. It's the most absurd thing I have ever heard.
But Mr. Conroy, if I'm not mistaken, there had to have been an approval by the Comptroller's office in order for this amendment to go forward. So why would that have been offered if we haven't done the analysis yet?
It was. The approval that was signed off by the Comptroller's office was the approval as to funds availability. If you look at the memorandum of understanding, you will see the stamp there, approval. So the Comptroller's office approves the funds available. In this budget, the 18 budget, we eliminated all vacancies. And in the budget itself, there's a line item known as salary adjustments to accommodate something that would be in the course of this item. Townwide, that salary adjustment numbers were $2.4 million. So again, getting back to, to answer your question specifically and comprehensively, a total review would have to be done on a case-by-case basis.
Right, but I'm not asking, but I have no problem with appropriate salary increases. I think people should always be paid the appropriate amount for their performance and their responsibilities. I have no issue with that. I have an issue with the fact of tying the town board now and going forward for no layoffs in the event of financial hardship. And I started off my legal career as a labor lawyer representing labor unions. I have the support of a fair amount of labor unions. I support labor. I support many of these incredible town workers that we have in this room today and throughout the town of Hempstead. That's not the issue. It's the issue that we have going forward no flexibility with regard to the workforce. There's got to be some sort of financial impact. I don't expect that you know it down to the last cent. That it would be too much in the future to be able to predict that. But this can't be a good thing. This can't be a good thing for our bond rating. Wall Street can't like this.
That's right.
May I interject? Mr. Conroy, truthfully, you would never recommend this to any town board, whether it's the people sitting here or Martians, would you?
To anywhere you wouldn't recommend this.
Okay, thank you.
I want you to be honest, Mr. Conroy. I'm talking to an official of the town. I want an answer.
Councilman Blakeman, I am always honest. I am always honest.
Mr. Conroy,
Yes.
okay, this is not the time to get your back up to talk about your honesty. I have a great deal of respect for you. I am asking you a question right now that I think the people of this town need to hear. And this is a moment of truth. This would have a deleterious effect, potentially, on the town that is unnecessary at this time. Wouldn't you agree with that?
I would agree, depending upon, it would be a function of the economy. And if the economy did, in fact, go sour, this probably would have an adverse effect.
Thank you.
Yes.
If the economy went sour. But again, there are many factors to consider, and I think you need to consider attrition in there as well.
Okay, thank you very much, and ma'am, your time has expired.
I appreciate it.
Janet Paretsky. Mary Ellen Cray. Mary Ellen Cray. Okay. Felix Procacci.
Felix Procacci, 1165 Bond Street, Franklin Square, New York. In your ethics law, it states that elected officials may not cast a vote for any matter in which a relative has a financial interest, and it defines what a relative is. On the CSCA amendment, Mr. Santino, Mr. Dunn, and Mr. D'Esposito cannot legally vote without violating the ethics law because they all have relatives that are going to benefit financially by not having now having a job that is not subject to layoffs. On the personnel issues, Mr. D'Esposito cannot vote because his brother is getting a raise, so he has to abstain if he wants to follow his own ethics law. Okay? And Mr. Conroy has guaranteed us, right, that the economy will never, ever go south. And that's why he's okay with this, right? Has he guaranteed that? There are other, so then you should shut up and not say that. No person during any express period of time for which compensation is provided to him or her by the town shall pursue or engage in activities for his or own benefit. These amendments in which the union gave nothing in return and which you're giving exempt employees layoff protection, they never gave anything in return. You're doing this for your benefit. Another part of your ethics legislation, Mr. Santino, in determining whether a conflict of interest exists under this local law, the Code of Ethics adopted here under the term interest shall be defined as a direct or indirect pecuniary or material benefit accruing to an elected official. Once again, your ethics law. So you're violating your ethics law on numerous cases here if you vote for this, if D'Esposito votes for it, and if Dunn votes for it. So you need to be prosecuted. But you already packed the Board of Ethics with John Ryan, the most unethical person in this town, who ignores ethics. Okay? Would Supervisor Santino, Councilman D'Esposito, Councilman Dunn, and Councilman Gooseby support the CSEA MOA if Santino had won the election? Had Santino won the election, how would you be in favor of this?
Mr. Procacci, I think this wouldn't have been necessary had he won the election.
Once again, just to emphasize what Kevin Conroy, we say that you could, in this amendment, that you could get rid of person for incompetence. If he's saying this is good, that's proof that he's incompetent.
Thank you very much.
Conroy
Wilhelmina
should be dismissed
Funderburk.
immediately.
Thank you very much,
He's
Mr.
approving
Procacci. Wilhelmina Funderburk.
Good afternoon.
Yes, good afternoon. Your name and address for the record, please.
Wilhelmina Funderburk, 156 East Clinton Avenue, Roosevelt, New York, 11575. To start off with, I'd like to congratulate you on all the work that you've done since you've been in office. I'd like to speak about Councilwoman Gooseby. She has been on this board. You are the only person on the board that's been here longer than she has. She has fought two fronts on this board. One front was being an African American, and the other front was being the only Democrat. I've heard quite a few people come up and ask her why doesn't she change her political. Why don't Councilwoman Sweeney and Councilman Blakeman change theirs? They are Republicans, and they're siding up with the Democrats. So, you know, it seems to me, and to tell council to suggest to Councilwoman Gooseby how to vote, she knows how to vote. She knows what her constituents need, and people are so disrespectful till it's unbelievable. First of all, before they can start giving suggestions, they need to know how to be respectful when someone else is speaking. I have been coming to these meetings for years. Okay? Years I've been coming here. And I have never seen such a disrespect for councilwomen and councilmen since I've come to these meetings. And Councilwoman Gooseby has done an excellent job for her constituents. You know, I am one of her constituents. And before she became a member of the board, we had no representative on this Hempstead Town Board. So she's done an excellent job. An excellent job. And I want to say one other thing. You know, I've been in political arena a long time. I was a Republican. I've been a Republican for years. I was a councilwoman for years. Okay? And I tell you this one thing. When you're out there working for people, you have to walk those streets and you have to find out what they need and what they want. So, and that's what she has done. A new regime is taking over, and we're going to have to bind together and work with the new regime. But by no means will Councilwoman do anything differently that she has been doing while working with all of the Republicans on this board. Thank you.
Thank you very
Madam,
much.
Since you addressed, excuse me, Madam, since you addressed me, I have to tell you, I believe that this proposal is antithetical to Republican principles. So I'm voting like a Republican. But I will tell you this isn't a Republican issue. It isn't a Democrat issue. I don't know any place where a town board, a city council, a state legislature would abrogate their responsibilities to protect the taxpayers by entering into an agreement like this that doesn't help the taxpayers. It hurts the taxpayers. It doesn't help the workers. As I said before, this doesn't do anything for the people who get up at 3 o'clock in the morning and plow the snow. This isn't for the people who pick up the garbage. I worked on the back of a town garbage truck. It's a rotten job. It's a tough job. I worked as a janitor. This isn't protecting the janitors. This is protecting a class of people that have been handpicked by the supervisor, and it's wrong. It's against Republican principles. It's against Democrat principles. It's against American principles.
Okay. Mariana Bracco. Ms. Ms. Funderburg, if you can, your time really is up. You can come back at the later part of the meeting.
Actually,
Mariana Bracco, please.
I'd like to just add one thing, Bruce. I really appreciate your comments, and I fully share them. And I would say instead of passing this ill-conceived CSCA amendment, what we really should do going forward to treat our workers well is to treat all of them with respect and eradicate the bullying environment that has happened in this town for the last 2 years. And to treat people equally within the town of Hempstead and to have a healthy work environment. And that should start at the top, and we should get rid of anyone who has been harassing employees. And we should have, when people like me have asked that people be investigated based on comments that were said to my staff and the way that I've been treated. When I'm ignored as a council person, not me as an individual, but me as a council person, you know we have a problem. And that's how we can help our employees here in the town of Hempstead.
Mariana Bracco. Mariana Bracco. Mariana Bracco. Okay. John Urbanik from Smithtown. I'm not sure if I'm saying the last name right. John Urbangh, Smithtown. No. Okay. Arlene Kane. That's good. I'm sorry. Yep. Ariel Kane. Good afternoon.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Your name and address for the record, please.
Ariel Kane, 140 Grand Avenue in Rockville Center. I want to echo the comments that I've heard by my fellow town residents so far on matter number 17. And I also want to thank Councilman Blakeman and Councilwoman Sweeney, who are the only two offices to respond to my requests for information about how the council plans to vote today on this matter. I have very serious concerns about the adoption of the proposed CBA amendments today. I see nothing in the language of the proposed amendment. There's not a whereas clause, not a recital, nothing in the text of the amendment that indicates there is consideration for what is being agreed to potentially by the council here today. Consideration is a term of art. For those who are not lawyers in the room, it means that in order to have an enforceable contract, there's a give and a take. I heard Councilman Blakeman make this point in the reopening of this session, and I didn't get an answer as to what consideration has been received in exchange for the no layoffs provision, and I would like to pose that question again for an answer.
Mr. Town Attorney?
The agreement details the give and take, the benefits to the town and the benefits to the union. So the agreement speaks for itself.
Well, respectfully, the main agreement that has already been signed may have consideration in it. This separate addendum needs to also have independent consideration for it to be enforceable.
And my answer is the agreement, the amendment speaks for itself.
Okay, and then my read of the amendment is that there is no consideration that would make it enforceable. And so then my next question is, what say the council about voting for an amendment that would otherwise be unenforceable? Is that an appropriate exercise of your responsibilities to the town residents?
I think ultimately it guarantees that we're going to have a large amount of legal bills going forward. So not only are we jeopardizing our financial health by not being able to lay off people, which none of us want to do, by the way. It's not like we're looking to lay people off, but we need to have the option, should there be financial hardship, should we be on the brink of bankruptcy, whatever. But, Mr. Town Attorney, do you think it's reasonable to assume that should we pass this CSCA amendment that we will incur significant legal costs defending it?
The agreement is legal
Why?
because it's a negotiated agreement between the town and the union.
But it wasn't. I mean, my understanding is that
I can't litigate it.
But the supervisor, my understanding, what I was told, went to the CSCA and said, "I'll give you this," and there was nothing they were giving back to us.
And my answer, once again, is this agreement is legal and it contains consideration on both parts. And I can't litigate, and I'm not going to litigate. I'm not going to litigate it here.
Okay, wait a second. Excuse me. I would just like to say thank you, Mr. Robb, spoken like a well-trained and professional attorney, and that's what you are, and you do a very good job. But, Mr. Supervisor, this is your proposal. This is going to define how people look at your stewardship of the town. Is this the way you want to go out? At least defend what you're doing. Tell the people what the consideration is. This woman is absolutely right, and she's entitled to an answer.
The town attorney has answered the question. Do you have anything else, Ms. Kane? Do you have anything else? Then thank you very much. Claudia Barecki.
Excuse me, my time's not yet expired.
Well, I asked you if you have, well, then please continue.
Okay. Well, I would urge this council to vote no, to not accept this amendment, or at least table it until we can get a legal opinion that it is an enforceable contract. Thank you.
Thank you. Claudia Barecki.
Claudia Barecki, 28 Washington Drive, Merrick, New York. First, I'd like to start by saying, could you imagine if Obama had picked Trump's cabinet? Could you imagine if he had done that? Can you imagine if Mangano had picked Laura Curran's commissioners and other people that are going to have to serve under her administration? No. Why is the town the only ones that are allowed to do this? It is crazy that you're appointing people that are and really stifling our new administration from putting forth what the people wanted, what the voters wanted. And the voters wanted change. They wanted honesty and integrity. So I want every council person to think about what you're voting for today. Today you are voting to raise people's taxes.
By the way, Ms. Barecki, for the record, this does not impact commissioners. So commissioners, you're misinformed when saying that. Commissioners are not part of the agreement, and it does not affect staff in an elected official's office. So you're misinformed with respect to that. When you said about someone picking someone else's commissioners, this does not affect commissioners.
All right, but you're picking the attorneys and you're picking the.
But you said commissioners, and you said something on the record that you said something on the record that wasn't so, and I wanted to just enlighten you.
Fine. Oh, fine. Okay, so, but today you are voting to raise people's taxes so that you can give $4 million to your friends and family. Are you required to file disclosure papers listing any family members that may be impacted by either this resolution or the CBA patronage amendment? Councilwoman Gooseby, you sold out your community so that you could give raises to your high salaried aides. How many roads could be paved with $4 million? How can you look your constituents in the eye and tell them that you are raising their taxes so that you can give your aides raises? How can you also invent jobs to continue to pay Mike Deary, the spinmeister for the GOP? A $200,000 salary is outrageous. Come on, a confidential assistant to the receiver of taxes? The word confidential shouldn't even be in the public sector. What are you hiding? What's the secrecy there? It's a slap in the face of the residents of the town of Hempstead, blatantly claiming that the party is more important than the people you are elected to represent. To say to your constituents, give me $4 million so that I can continue to feed my friends and family while they struggle to put food on their table is outright cruel. Those days of confidentiality, days of secrecy, days of backroom deals are over. The public wants good, honest, and transparent government. You all work for us. We pay your salaries, and we pay the salaries of your 192 friends and family. So I'm asking each of you to look over these 192 positions that are costing us taxpayers $4 million and vote no on these outrageous appointments. Or in the least, if any of your friends or family will benefit from this vote, then I ask you to abstain from voting today on all the items that today's agenda.
Thank you very much. Louis Mendez, please.
Come on, you turn.
Louis Mendez, please. Mr. Louis Mendez.
The only ethical.
Mr. Louis Mendez, please. Mr. Mendez, your name and address again for the record.
Thank you. Louis Mendez, 36 Hart Lane, Westbury, New York. Supervisor, first and foremost, I want to thank you for your service, and I wish you a great retirement. To the members of, no, and I mean that, because you've served well, and obviously the voters have spoken, and it's time to move on. To Councilwoman Gooseby, I have respected you always, have admired you, because I know exactly how you got to this board. I know the struggles of the African American and Latino community on creating councilmatic districts, and I respect your position. No one, I think, here came here to disrespect you. And if you came across that way, then shame on them, and I apologize on their behalf. But we're here not to disrespect you, but to ask you to respect us. And that's all. And to my former colleague, who I admire for being the first Latino elected in the county legislature, Dennis Dunn, who happens to be Puerto Rican, of Puerto Rican descent. I want to say to you, as a member of the Hispanic community, I run the largest Hispanic organization in the town of Hempstead, in the county of Nassau. That is the Long Island Hispanic Soccer Federation, adult soccer, roughly about 25,000 members in Nassau and Suffolk. And I want to say to all of you that if I have five kids, I have a set of triplets who are 23 years old. I have a 17-year-old who's going away to college, and I have a 12-year-old. My 17-year-old and 12-year-old performed at your Hispanic event this past September. And so the reason why I bring them up is I would like to have them get a job where they bypass the civil service components, where they end up getting a six-figure salary and not have to worry about ever being fired. That is guarantee of jobs. Unfortunately for me, I don't have the capacity to do that, even though I am politically active. I am politically connected. I run 25,000 people's organization as a volunteer. And so I implore you, Councilman Dunn, that you have the ability to become a superstar, a rising star in the Republican Party, and be able to make your voice heard today by doing the right thing. I run my own company, and if I run out of money, I have the ability to lay off people that I don't want to lay off. And we should have the same thing as taxpayers. I love my service. I want to commend the town workers, the sanitation workers. They're always there whenever I have called for anything. And I commend them. And this is not for them. This is for the politically elite, connected, so that they could get a free pass and do everything they can to be able to make a lot of money by passing the civil service laws. Thank you so much for your service, and at the same time, your service does not end here. It ends after this vote. Thank you.
Valerie Lamp. Valerie Lamp.
We meet again.
Name and address for the record, please.
Valerie Lamp, Baldwin, New York. And I just want to say that I am here in spite of having a loved one, a World War II veteran, on life support right now. And I have spent the last several hours listening to everything. So clearly this is important to me. And I really thank you, soon-to-be former Supervisor Santino, for awakening me in terms of how important it is to pay attention and get involved with your local government and officials. So I thank you for that. Now, I'd actually like to ask what the process is, Mr. Ra. I know you're busy doing something over there, but what is the process in terms of being hired or appointed for whatever jobs are being doled out right now? For example, confidential assistant to a tax assessor, which is not so confidential if everyone knows about it. What is the process for that? Stop my clock, please.
You want to know the process of being hired here? You make an application to Human Resources, and if there's an opening and you get an interview, and if you pass the interview, you go to civil service physicals and drug testing, and that's essentially the process.
So that job was posted?
No, I didn't say that.
Stop my clock, please.
I didn't say that. I said that if you're interested in employment here, you can file an application with the Human Resources Department, and if your qualifications match an opening, you would be called for an interview.
So what are the qualifications for a assistant confidential person to the tax advisor?
I don't have those.
But there is a job description for every single job that was doled out recently on this proposal?
There are job descriptions for everything, yes.
And are there multiple candidates interviewed for each and every single position?
It depends.
It depends on what?
It depends on how many, if there are candidates or if we have the right person for the position. You cannot give a general answer to that kind of a question.
Of course not. Well, I hear that your position may become vacant, and I'd like to throw my hat in that ring because, I mean, I'm not a lawyer. I've never been to law school, and I've never passed the bar, but the magical word, and this is why I'm really not scared or intimidated by this latest shenanigans, the magical word to me is incompetence. Because regardless of not being able to lay people off due to economic downturns and anything that would make fiscal conservative sense, we would still have the ability to let go of people based on the word incompetence, which I just Googled it, right? Wikipedia says not having or showing the necessary skills to do something successfully, also known as inept, unskillful, inexpert, bungling, clumsy, inadequate, and deficient. Well, let me just tell you, this is a great day in our life. We have been looking forward to this last meeting for a very long time, and I want to let you know, soon-to-be former Supervisor Santino, we already fired you for incompetence, and we will continue to do the rest. We will find a way to remove each brick of this false, hurtful wall to the taxpayers. Brick by brick, we will turn this town around.
Lucille Defina. Lucille Defina.
You know, it's incredible. I don't know what I can say any different than what everybody else is saying time after time. It's amazing to me the amount of knowledge and what people can come up here and how much they know and how much they can contribute. And I've learned so much just from listening to what people have had to say. And of course, Supervisor Santino, that's always been your greatest asset, listening to people. You never listen to anyone. And it's funny how Dorothy Gooseby has become, you know, such an advocate of yours, and your right-hand person and someone you whisper and talk to throughout all these meetings, since you've been sitting in that chair. You know, Dorothy, I don't want to insult you, but you have to think on every level. Everyone's coming up here and speaking their mind and speaking their view, and whether you understand all the ins and outs and the legalities or you don't understand it at all, common sense tells you that this is horribly corrupt and illegal. And someone has to be able to do something about it, whether it's finding the word, as she just said, incompetence. There's got to be a way to put an end to this, because we all know that you sitting in that chair or you not sitting in that chair, there is a long, long history of this for many, many years in the town of Hempstead. So I'm not going to be foolish enough to think that after you're not sitting in that chair that this is not going to continue. It will continue, and that's what that layer is that has been here all along, and that's exactly why you're trying to pass what you're trying to pass, to protect the people who are protecting the layer, to continue the harassment and the bullying that has gone on in this town and wasted our tax dollars and has turned it into the shameful township that it has become, especially since you have taken that seat. So I have to ask you, Dorothy Gooseby, because I am sure that this is not about your assistants getting a raise. What did they promise you? Because along with harassment and bullying, there's also bribery. What is it that they're promising you that you're going to get, that you're going to turn around and do something that is this unethical, to disappoint this many people? Where is it going to get you in the long run? Is that why you originally took that chair? I don't think so. Did you lose who you are? Did you forget who you are?
Thank you very much. Mr. William McCabe. Mr. William McCabe.
William McCabe, Floral Park. Absolutely, it depends, Mr. Ra. Valerie Lamp, who's a heck of a lot smarter than I am, asked you a question, and I'm going to say it a little bit slower for you because the answer that you gave confused me. Are the people that are being hired, have they taken a civil service exam, and have they put in applications and resumes for the positions that they're being hired for or moved to? Think carefully. Take the time, stop the clock, and think.
The short answer is it depends. And
why does it depend?
And I'm not going any further than that.
Why won't you go any further than that?
Because I'm not going to engage in the legalities of the situation.
Mr. Ra, if you would just put on the record for a moment the facts of what's called the eligibility list, the Tosner list is called colloquially.
That's what I'm getting at, yeah.
Which is a large proportion of the new hires on this calendar.
Thank you, outgoing supervisor.
Well, if you were talking about the Tosner list, that's a different issue.
Right, the Tosner. I've asked the town attorney a question, please, and please let me have an answer.
we're not talking.
Please, Mr. Blakeman, you're out of order. I've asked a question, and I would like to have.
About the Tasner list.
I've asked a question, sir. Please have some respect.
Under litigation that was settled a number of years ago,
How many years ago?
2008,
Okay, more than in the last 2 years.
2008, 2009, there was litigation brought by the union on behalf of part-timers who worked more than 30 hours a week. They referred to them as the full-time part-timers. And in settling that litigation, the idea was they were not getting benefits. They did not accrue vacation time. They didn't get medical benefits. And so the union brought a lawsuit to require the town to hire them. Obviously, there were a large number of people who were part-timers. And so in settling the litigation, it was decided that the town would hire 30 people off that list, and the name of the plaintiff was Tasner, and so it became called the Tasner list. And the town is required to hire 30 people off the Tasner list in order over until that list is expunged, until the list is finished.
And those 30 people are on this list on this meeting. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Thank you.
When was that settlement? When was that settlement made? Stop the clock.
2009, 2010.
Why are we hiring them now?
We have hired them every single year since then, and every year until that list is depleted, we are required to hire 30 people. So that's why we do it now.
Thank you. The next question. Michael Deary, the confidential specialist over there, and Madam Clerk, these two positions, if I'm not mistaken, they were civil servants before they were appointed to positions. Is that correct?
I don't understand your question.
Madam Clerk is an elected position. Was she a civil servant before she was elected to her position?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Deary, was he a civil servant before he was appointed to his position?
Yes.
Okay. So they're going back to becoming civil servants, is that correct?
Well, I would think they're still civil servants.
The civil servants, as far as the definition that we know it as, for taking a test, going through an application process, doing all of that. Because we're all civil servants here. Especially, I'm civilly serving you by paying my taxes.
The question is, did Michael Deary take a civil service test?
Correct.
The answer is no.
Okay.
The answer is no.
And he's being moved into a position that was meant for a civil servant, was created for a civil servant? Were there applications that were put in for it?
It's an appointed position by the receiver of taxes.
An appointed position by the receiver of taxes. Okay, so that's an appointed position. So the receiver of taxes is an appointed position or an elected position?
Receiver of taxes is an elected position.
Okay, so why is Michael Deary being moved in there? That just doesn't make sense to me. It's being put in as he's just in another appointed position.
It's a departmental request.
Okay, and what about Ms. Ahmed? How come is she reverting back to the salary that she had as a civil servant before she was elected to a position? Wouldn't that make sense? If somebody was a civil servant and they were appointed to a position and they're going back to being a civil servant. That's what I'm confused by.
I believe she was not in a tested position prior to being elected as the town.
Do all civil servants have to be tested?
I don't.
It depends.
No.
Absolutely? It absolutely
No, there are appointed positions and there are tested positions.
Why? Why is that allowed? How come there are?
Because that's civil
so
service.
Then why can't these people,
civil service law of the state of New York.
So then why can't these people be let go?
Mr. Salmon, could you give us a quick tutorial on the various kinds of positions under New York State civil service law?
Happy to, Supervisor. Good afternoon, everyone. There are 5 classifications of jobs under New York State civil service law. First classification we'll start with is the laboring class. Second classification is non-competitive. Third is competitive. Fourth is exempt. And the fifth is unclassified. Commissioners, elected officials are in the unclassified. Deputies, high-ranking assistants to elected officials are usually in the exempt class. You have many people in the competitive class. You have far more people in the non-competitive class, which doesn't require an exam, but it does require education and experience. And the laboring position has very minimal qualifications.
So of the just rough estimate in your experience, how many people in the what percentage in the workforce is tested as opposed to fitting into civil service positions, but whether they are the laboring class or the qualifications and experience, the non-competitive, as opposed to sitting down, taking a test, and passing it?
I would estimate about 30% of the working population's in a competitive class.
Meaning tested?
Correct.
And the rest are not?
That's correct.
But they're covered under New York State civil service law, either as laborers, non-competitive, et cetera.
Every employee that's hired must pass the civil service requirements for the title that they are seeking.
Okay.
And that's the 1 in 3 rule, if I'm not mistaken.
That's on the competitive class when they take an exam, and it can have more than 3 if people are tied for the third highest score.
Okay. Commissioner, I have a question for you. When did you first learn about this amendment to the memorandum that was just recently passed on a contract that I'm sure you had a lot to do with negotiating? When did you learn about this amendment for the first time?
I was not involved with these negotiations, Councilman, and it was several weeks ago that I began to hear of a dialogue with the union.
So you're the head of HR for the whole town, and you were not involved in any of these negotiations whatsoever?
On this particular item, I was not directly involved.
Thank you.
Go ahead, please.
Who's Matthew Coleman, and why did he resign from his position and being moved into another?
I mean, Mr. Town Attorney,
What was his title? What did he do? The position that he resigned to.
Matthew Coleman's prior title prior to today, what was his prior title?
Policy analyst.
Okay, he was a senior policy analyst.
Why did he resign?
He's being moved to...
Well, it says he resigned online.
Yeah, I believe he's being moved to a different department, correct? He's being...
Okay, and what is the new position?
Thank you very much. Rory Gordon.
This is why you're leaving.
Rory Gordon. Rory Gordon.
Hi, Rory Gordon, Hauppauge, New York. Are we talking about number 17 or 55?
Both.
Okay, great.
Either or both.
Okay, who appointed the this lovely town clerk to the deputy commissioner's position of the Department of Occupational Resources?
Well, it's on this calendar. It's the item
It's an item on this calendar for the town board's consideration.
No, I understand that, but specifically, who makes the appointment?
The town board.
The town board. Okay, well, let me read this to you. The Department of, Chapter 64, Department of Occupational Resources. But before I get into that, is she replacing a deputy commissioner of another person? Was there an opening?
I believe it's a vacant position.
And who is that person that she's replacing?
Vacant.
It's vacant. Okay, but there has to be somebody that she is replacing. Okay, there are 6 deputy commissioners: Operation and Systems, Planning, Fiscal Management, Career Development, Youth Services, and Monitoring. Darling, I'm sure you know what position you're taking. Do you know which one it is?
All right. We're not grilling the town clerk. Mr. Salmon, could you... I mean, I believe she is replacing Mr. Becker, who is becoming commissioner. Is that correct? All right.
Sorry, I didn't know that.
Okay, Mr. Becker, has he taken the position yet?
He's acting commissioner at the moment and has been for several months.
Okay, and is he on the list of the 190 people?
I believe he's on this calendar to be appointed commissioner.
Is he, Mr. Ra?
Yes.
Okay. There's Chapter 64, Department of Occupational Resources, Department established. It was established, like 40 years ago. There shall be established in the town of Hempstead a Department of Occupational Resources, which shall provide training and temporary employment opportunities to the unemployed and shall develop and deliver other human services. I'm going to cut to the chase here. The commissioner shall be vested with the authority, direction, and control over the department and may appoint deputy commissioners to serve during his pleasure. He has not gotten the job. How is, and I don't mean to pick on you, honey. I'm sorry. You just are in a bad place. I really do, because you're a nice lady. But I got to get my point across here. How are you overriding the job that the commission is supposed to do that doesn't have the job as of today? Can somebody explain that to me?
The deputy can act in place.
It does not say that here. It says the commissioner shall be vested with the authority, direction, and control over the department.
It's civil service law.
This is town law. Tell me town law doesn't override civil service law. You wrote the law. I didn't write the law. You think this is funny, Joe? Not for nothing, but I pay a lot of taxes in this town.
Because you don't, but you don't want, if you don't want to accept the answer, I don't know what it is I can do with you. If you just want to argue, but that's the answer.
But that's not the truth.
Well, no, that's the answer.
That's not the truth.
I
The answer is not the
disagree
truth.
with you.
What?
I disagree with you.
Okay, well, that doesn't mean anything, does it now? Mr. D'Esposito, did you disclose your interest as far as giving your brother a raise? Did you put it in writing to the board? Well, do you know that it is in the current Code of Ethics that's been on there since 1990 that you are responsible to do that? How come you didn't do that?
I said I did.
But you said you didn't. When did you?
You
did it today. How convenient. Oh, my God. Gee, I should not be surprised.
Ms. Gordon, the item is on the calendar today. When would you like me to let them know about the vote?
Oh, it would have been nice when it went on the calendar last week.
Thank you very much, Ms. Gordon.
It's on the calendar today.
Thank you very much. Okay. Thank you very much, Ms. Gordon. No, thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much, Ms. Gordon. I know. Thank you very much. Okay. Those are the individuals who have signed in relative to this matter. So, okay. Again, we are dealing with two items that have been severed. Your name and address for the record.
Rita J. Meriday, Baldwin resident. Okay, where does one begin in all of this? Mr. Raw, as the town attorney, why didn't you speak to the information that was presented by Mr. Procacci regarding the ethical violations of individuals who are sitting on the council voting for issues that impact their relatives? There was silence when it was brought up.
There are no issues.
There were no issues?
No.
So are you saying that there are no relatives
No,
that
I'm
are
not.
connected to any
I'm telling you
so you're not saying that?
All of the ethical issues will be addressed during the vote, and or there are no other ethical issues. We're good. The short answer is the vote hasn't happened yet, but we're good. Thank you for your concern, though, but we're good.
I will be continuing to be concerned, but how are you going to say it's brought up during the vote if the individuals are still here as part of the discussion? Okay, moving on. With regard to this issue, it has definitely been expressed very well by those who have been in this forefront. I'm just curious now that we're at this point, because having the number of people in the audience here is interesting, because from what I understand, the majority of them actually work for the town. So I'm just trying to understand why so many of the residents had to stand outside before they could get in to possibly be heard here. Who's actually running the town? And I'm curious that now we have these types of issues when those few of us that have been out here and talking about these issues, we were told a couple of months ago, Supervisor Santino, and I'm so glad that you're still here, and I'm hoping that you'll stay here through the whole meeting, even after this part adjourns, that the budget that was rushed, that we asked to have more time with that, but you felt that that budget handled all of the issues that pertain to salaries and opportunities for the employees. Now, all of a sudden, are you saying that your budget was flawed, that you said was such a great budget just a couple of months ago? And this budget salary adjustment, if Mr. Conroy could speak to that $2.4 million adjustment and how the council members in good conscience and the representation that you are speaking for taxpayers can vote for something that even the controller says would have to be reviewed on a case-by-case basis. He has no example of what the fiscal impact would be. Each item would be subject to review, and we don't even know what of the overall classifications of the jobs that people are transferring to. So how can you, in good conscience, vote for something that even Mr. Councilman Desposito said that he just provided his letter today because it was just put on the calendar today? So how can all of you even say that you have effectively looked over this legislation, this regulation, this taxation without representation, and say that you're effectively representing the interests of taxpayers? And who are we talking about, the taxpayers? I have a sheet of paper here with 7 homes in Baldwin that have been abandoned. Every month, every meeting that I come to, I get about 7 to 10. If you add the number of villages and townships and hamlets,
okay, thank you very much. We're going to hold to the 3 minutes. I have no other slips, but I know there were people who indicated. Diane Madden. I'll get him.
Diane Madden, Hempstead. I just wanted to point out, I think it's important for the public to understand that, everybody's getting twisted about 190 some odd positions, rightfully so, but there have been many, many dozens upon dozens of positions that you have given out, Santino, since you lost the election. My phone has not stopped ringing and texting in every department that you have given raises and promotions and done job favors to since November 8th. So this is just a portion. And I really believe, knowing and what I've seen in all of these years, that you're really not doing all of these people any favors, because the employees that have been punished and discriminated against and isolated and really tormented, probably in every single department, are now empowered. Their chains are off. So they're the ones that are going to be keeping an eye on these people, your layer, your favorites. And from what I understand, Laura Gillen will have the power to decide and define what misconduct is and what incompetence is. So, and I wanted to mention the Tosner's list. You've managed to manipulate that as well. You gave 4 raises to full-time work to 4 incompetent people at the animal shelter. You picked off that Tosner's list, and yet you still left Mr. Ben Mento, the African-American man that you promised full-time work to February of 2016, that's been fighting pancreatic cancer. You managed to even overlook him. So until the last day that you're here, you have punished the most innocent people, but they won't forget. Those are the ones that are going to be watching the Dearys and the Gaffneys and the Colemans. And the first thing they do wrong, I promise you, they will be out. I would like to know who held these positions before you appointed them, specifically for Teresa Gaffney. And does she have any experience? I'm told she is now the Assistant Commissioner of Parks. I was told originally she used to drive around and just decide, or take a look at what houses had flags so you could send them out letters. So what are her qualifications for this position?
I believe you have the position wrong. You're incorrect.
So what is Ms. Gaffney's position? What is her new appointment if it's not the Assistant Commissioner of Parks?
Mr. Salmon, Mr. Town Attorney.
Community Research Assistant in the Highway.
community research assistant in the highway department.
I'm sorry, excuse me, I stand corrected. It's with the Department of General Services, specifically with the coordination of all of our automotive functions in that department, under that department.
How many people were interviewed for her position?
It was a known entity to the appointing authority.
I'm sorry?
Known to the appointing authority, it was felt that she had the skills for the position.
So no one else was interviewed. You know, you're kind of dancing around that, Mr. Salmon. By the way, are you still going to be here after the 1st of January? Because I've been hearing your name for a very long time.
Thank you very much, Ms. Madden. Thank you very much, Ms. Madden. Your time expired.
Okay,
your time expired.
Again.
Your time expired.
Bye-bye, Sam.
Have a nice day. Mr. Mattathias. Mr. Mattathias is next, please.
Asher Mattathias, 312 Longacre Avenue, Woodmere. I came here to raise a different issue, which I guess will come to fore after my objection to this regulation. I have also an assessment of last month's meeting for each of you, I'm glad to say. And at that time, I mentioned that the whiff of corruption seems to be not only in Washington, and of course today we know that the squam has gone to Alabama, but also we feel it here. And last month I mentioned that I congratulated Tony and those of you who are on the way out for your service, but I also mentioned that it is a moment of gladness that two Lauras are entering the political field, Laura Coran and Laura Gillen. I want you to know I've been teaching for 52 years political science, and in '68 I was at Manhattan College when a upstart undergraduate said, "Professor, and are you involved?" I was theorizing until then about what democracy means at the grassroots. The following morning, I went and registered as a progressive liberal Republican. I know it is a contradiction in terms to think of Republicans. I am a Javits Republican, and I know my students think that Javits is a senator. Before he was a senator, he was a distinguished senator. On the way here, I came across my archives. This is my poster in 1974, running with Javits, and the liberal, yes, there was such a thing, a liberal party, and the Republican Party, as the first assembly candidate of Greek, Jewish, immigrant American background in Astoria. I lost, he won, but I was attached to politics I have been attached to politics ever since. In my assessment of last month, I mentioned the problem of appointing relatives, giving raises, some girlfriends or some sisters, etc. This has to stop. Not only it has to stop, but we must have term limits in order to have revitalization. I was glad to vote for Gillen, and I am glad to anticipate being here for the ensuing months to support her. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Good. Okay, fine. Yep. Name and address for the record, please.
Capuano in Montauk. I just can't believe all this misuse of power.
Mm-hmm.
I can't believe it. I'm sorry, I'm new at all this. I've been working for 44 years, hard, and paying a lot of taxes. But anyway, I have a quick question. Mike Deary, his job, the new job, is that a newly appointed job, or has that been a job?
That's an existing position in the Receiver of Taxes office.
Oh, who had the job before him?
I think it's been vacant for a while, right? Has it been vacant for a little bit? It's been vacant for a little while, but
Yeah, because I never heard of that job. I was just there yesterday, actually, paying my taxes. And I was just wondering, is that a newly appointed, he's the highest paid, I understand, employee of Nassau County, and he got a promotion, or is that a promotion? Or how did he get that job? Did other people apply for that job?
I don't know about Nassau.
How did he get that job, and what, did they just pull it out of a hat to see what was vacant? And also, how many other people have applied for that position? Okay, that's all. You know what? I just can't stand the corruption. I can't stand it. I just want people, I've been out of the loop, and I just want people to be fair and ethical, including you. I just can't believe this. But nobody's bipartisan. Only a couple of people speak up for the truth. What is this world coming to? That's all.
Just to follow up on your questions, could we talk about that salary of that person, because that person is making $205,000, and under the income cap, I'm only allowed to make $196,000, which is $71,000 as a council person and $125,000. So is that reasonable?
Is it? The question you should.
I'm wondering why the income cap applies.
For all of you to decide.
So we have a person who's a confidential assistant who's going to be making more than what we on the board are allowed to make. And I'm all about, as many of you know, people getting paid properly. I fought for a year and a half for that to happen. I really think people should be paid appropriately for the job that they do. I have no problem with that. But in light of the fact that board members are only allowed, now I'm not saying only, I'm not saying poor us for only being allowed to make $196. Let me be very clear about that. Since we passed this fake ethics law that prevents me from having outside income in excess of $125,000. One would think that a confidential assistant should be able to make should make below that amount and shouldn't make $205,000. So in a few minutes, I will be calling to sever 3 individuals from this proposal, one being Michael Deary, one being Matt Coleman, and one being Teresa Gaffney. I do think that some of you are going to disagree with me on this, and I respect everyone's opinions. There are a lot of people on the Tosner list. There are a lot of people with civil service tests. There are some very well-deserving people with raises. I don't know everyone's raise, whether or not. I'm relying on their manager, their direct supervisor. I want people to be paid appropriately and properly, and this process was less than ideal. That said, in the pursuit of something perfect, I don't want good people to be hurt, and so this is a really, really difficult situation to be in. I guess that's why we're on the board, to make those tough decisions. But in good conscience, the 3 people that I'm pulling out have personally tried to hurt me. They've hurt people on the town board, town workers, and the salary is insane. And I'm going to call for those 3 people to be removed from this proposal.
Mr. Supervisor, are we on 55 yet?
No, we are still on public discussion on 17 and 55. We're not voting on anything yet.
Oh, we're discussing 17 and 55.
That's correct. Yeah, we've been doing that all day.
I thought we were only doing 17, so I have something to say with
Well, we're going to go through the public, because there's still at least one other member. Are you done, Mr. Capuano? Thank you. Right. Lady in front row, yeah.
Hello, Dominica Califano. I have to say this is a disgrace in what's going on in Nassau County, in the town of Hempstead, and especially all the corruption with all the political connections that the village of Island Park has. And since Anthony D'Exposito has came into play, he has put in some monsters, which is Garrett Gordon, was just placed in here. He has 5 lawsuits against him. This is the taxpayers' money. He was out on disability as a police officer. How do you give him a job for the town of Hempstead? He is abusing and harassing park employees. I'm getting letters and calls from it, attacking them at home, following them. You have Doug Roth going into my tenant's window that's dying of cancer. I believe he just became an employee of the Village of Island Park nighttime inspector, going to my uncle's property and giving him violations on his car. You have Anthony D'Exposito that pretends he does nothing, but he's the ringleader of controlling his puppets on a string, including his father that has stepped down from the Village of Island Park board, that was a deputy to the mayor of the village. That money is missing from their account. You have Ed Madden on Facebook, on company time, ripping families apart. He knows, Rod knows all about it. He doesn't answer any of my letters. You have Christopher Downs, another town of Hempstead employee that's from the Village of Island Park, Anthony D'Exposito's puppets. They do all his dirty work. How many other people that are on this piece of paper that Anthony D'Exposito and his family that we're employing as the taxpayer that has been bullying? I have the police department. I was a whistleblower on $14.5 million of corruption money in Nassau County. I had bricks thrown through my window, acid. I have the police department arresting myself and my niece. Charges have been dropped. I had to hire attorneys, but I will keep on speaking about corruption. Santino, you can laugh all you want. You're the worst devil that I ever came across. You protect the kids in Nassau County. You were there for my nephew that has passed away from cancer. I have came to you to help me pay $8,000 a week for treatment that I had to go to Rubio Cancer Center in Mexico. The only thing you did for my nephew was throw out a baseball. I went to the county, and that's how I found out about corruption in Nassau County. But I will keep on speaking. I have text messages from Anthony D'Exposito and from his fellow employees from the firehouse in Island Park. They are monster people. They are a disgraced family. The power that they use to destroy families, what they have done in the Village of Island Park, is a disgrace. From Al D'Amato, his daughter sitting here in the audience, Matt Passione, that Anthony D'Exposito hired. He has everything on his piece of property in Island Park illegal. Brothers selling marijuana, growing pot. Family putting in permits for businesses to be ran.
Okay, thank you very much.
These are all
Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay. That was
Glad to see you learn from your arrest.
Thank you very much. Now, we will.
I'm not done yet.
Neither am I. So would you please let me ask, is there anyone else in the audience on 17 or 55? Okay, then that's it for the public comment on that. If you want to say, Councilman Blankman, please, let's have good order from the audience. Please have some good order from the audience, please. One each item. Thank you very much. You've already spoken, ma'am. Thank you very much. You've already spoken. Thank you very much.
Mr. Supervisor, this Friday, this was dumped on our laps. 192 transfers and salary adjustments without any consultation with this board, without the courtesy of providing us with a resume, an explanation, an evaluation. Nothing came in this package to justify this. Now, let me tell you something. Most of these people are very fine public servants, and they deserve to be retained, and their job was not in jeopardy. And if you're thinking out there that your job was in jeopardy, it was not. This is protecting the people who have been incompetent and been bullies and haven't served the public. That's why it's being done on a mass level with the provisions that are provided in the CSEA memorandum, so there's nobody that can be laid off. That's what this is. It's a blatant power grab, and it's wrong. I would have worked with the members of this town board on each and every one of these individuals, and we would have discussed them and talked about them and I am sure that the vast majority of them, we all would have agreed, we're good people, we're serving the town, and we're serving the taxpayers. But that's not the way it was done. Instead, we had to do it this way, with no backup, no evaluation, no explanation. This is Christmas for the well-connected, and it's a lump of coal for the taxpayers. Where in here is additional money to combat the opioid problem that we have in all our schools in the town of Hempstead? Where's the money? Where's the money to hire more public safety officers and more bay constables when we're living now in fear of terror and we have gang infiltration in most of our schools in the town of Hempstead? That's not here. Nothing's here for those people. Nothing's here for the people who sweep the streets, plow the snow, clean the bathrooms, pick up the garbage. What this is, it's a message to the taxpayers. It's a message to the people who labor every day as employees of the town of Hempstead. We don't care about you. We're going to do this. We're arrogant. We're powerful. And we got the votes to do this, even though by every estimation, what's being done today here is absolutely wrong. This may be legal, but this is corruption. This is a corruption. This is a corruption. This is a corruption of priorities. It's a corruption of values, and it's a corruption of what we stand for, and it's a blatant corruption of power. Doing it this way was the wrong way. Sitting down, discussing it, vetting everything, talking about it, working it out, making sure that we have the right people, that would have been the right way to do it. I offered to do that. I would have put as much time as necessary. And again, please out there, this is not an indictment on you. Because like I said, the vast majority of the people in this pile are good people, and they're great workers. But this is not the way to do it. I have to tell you that Ronald Reagan would be rolling over his grave knowing that Republicans were about to do this. And I am making a last-ditch effort. I'm making a last-ditch effort to my colleagues in the Republican Party.
Okay.
Do it. Do the right thing.
We're going to now call
Do what's true to your values. Do what's right for the people. Do what's right for the taxpayers. Do what's right for the workers. Don't do what's being done here today, which is just a blatant power grab without any consideration, without any thought, and at any expense, that it's going to cost the taxpayers. That is very unfair. It's wrong. And again, it's a power of corruption.
Okay, moving now, we're going to take one vote. Taking one vote at a time. On item number 7. Okay, on item number 17, this is the collective bargaining agreement. Call the roll. I guess, we just correct my recollection. We moved and seconded it?
No, we didn't.
No, okay, so we need a motion on the collective bargaining agreement.
Supervisor, I move that the item be adopted.
Supervisor Santino.
Aye.
Councilman Ambrosino.
Let me explain my vote. I'm going to explain my vote. I'm very concerned about this provision. And when I received it last week, I took it upon myself to review material by Harris Beach, who's a law firm very close to the supervisor-elect and independent labor council. And I said, the ability of a town to budget in the event of financial duress should never be handcuffed. The incoming supervisor should have her hands free from any handcuffs to govern this town appropriately. She won the election. And I was very concerned that this clause would handcuff Supervisor-elect Gillen, soon-to-be Supervisor Gillen, and the present board from governing in the future. So I did a little research, and there's a case called Johnson City that Harris Beach provided me with and did an excellent analysis. This clause as drafted does not in any way impede the town's ability to budget. If there is a fiscal duress, the no layoff clause is inoperative. The future supervisor and this town board, because everyone is hired and fired by this town board, will be able to do whatever they need to do to ensure that taxes in this town do not go up and we make the necessary budget adjustments. Therefore, based on the analysis provided by Harris Beach and by Independent Labor Council, I support this amendment to the collective bargaining agreement. I vote yes.
Next, please.
Councilman Blakeman.
Yeah, first of all, if it's inoperative, why are we voting for it? I don't understand that logic, Councilman. All I know is, this is something that I think is a sad day for the Republican Party in Nassau County. It's not in line with our principles. Again, I would urge you to reconsider. I would urge my fellow Republican colleagues to reconsider. This isn't the way to do things. There's a right way and a wrong way. There's not a Republican way. There's not a Democratic way. There's a right way and a wrong way. This is the wrong way. I vote no.
Councilman Diaz-Bazito.
Yes.
Councilman Dunn.
Yes.
Councilwoman Gooseby. Councilwoman King Sweeney.
No.
Okay. The next item will be the vote was 4-3. It passed. Okay. The next item.
Supervisor, we can't hear the vote.
Okay. Just reiterate what the vote was.
4-3-4.
Please have order in the audience, please. Have order in the audience, please. Okay.
Supervisor Santino.
Okay. Please, sir, please have good order. Okay. Let's move forward. Let's move forward on the next item, please. Item number 55. Good order, please, or we'll clear the audience.
Supervisor Santino.
What are we voting?
Wait. Hold on a second now. We have to have some good order. We're going to take a 5-minute recess. We're going to take a 5-minute recess.